Today, you probably did something to your hair. You washed it, combed it, or stared at it like it had personally betrayed you. But in ancient human life, hair care was often something people did for each other. You helped someone manage their hair. And sometimes, yes, that meant picking bugs out of it. Disgusting? Yes. Important? Also yes. Because for early humans and other primates, grooming was not just cleaning. It was bonding. It was trust. It was alliance. It was basically saying, I will remove tiny parasites from your head, and in return, please don't abandon me during the next crisis. So before hair became fashion, it was already social technology. But hair story starts even earlier than that. Humans are strange mammals. Most mammals are covered in fur. Dogs have fur. Bears have fur. Chimpanzees have fur. Humans, for some reason, look like someone started shaving an ape and then got bored halfway through. We lost most of our body hair, but kept a suspicious patch on top of the head. That patch may not be random. In 2023, biological anthropologist Tina Lasisi and her colleagues published a study in PNAS using a thermal mannequin, human hair wigs, simulated sunlight, wind, and humidity. They tested how different hair types affected heat on the scalp. Their finding was simple but interesting. Scalp hair can reduce solar heat reaching the head. Tightly curled hair seemed especially good at reducing heat gain while also lowering the amount of sweat needed for cooling. So early scalp hair may have worked less like decoration and more like a built-in sun hat, which makes sense. Early humans were walking upright under strong sun, carrying an extremely expensive organ inside the skull. The brain is useful, but it is also dramatic. It overheats. It complains. It demands shade. So one possible story is this. As humans evolved to walk, run, sweat, and travel in hot, open environments, losing body hair helped the body release heat. But keeping hair on the scalp helped protect the head from solar radiation. Evolution did not invent shampoo. It invented a hat that grows out of your skin. But hair was never only useful to humans. It was also useful to parasites. Lice, for example, are basically historians with terrible hygiene. In 2003, evolutionary biologist Mark Pagel and geneticist Walter Bodmer proposed that losing body hair may have helped humans reduce ectoparasites, insects, and other small creatures living on the body. This is not the only explanation for human hairlessness. It is a hypothesis, not a final answer. But it gives us a funny way to think about our bodies. Maybe part of becoming human was becoming a worse apartment building for bugs. And scientists can actually use lice to study human history. Evolutionary biologist David Reed and colleagues studied primate lice and found that human pubic lice are closely related to gorilla lice, with the split estimated around 3.3 million years ago. No, this does not mean what your weird uncle thinks it means. It likely involved shared environments, sleeping sites, or contact with gorilla nests. But the important point is that parasites can reveal clues about where hair existed on ancient bodies. The human body may have become an island chain. Hair on the head, hair in a few other places, mostly bare skin in between. A tropical vacation, but for lice. Later, clothing lice give another clue. They live in clothing, not directly on the scalp. Genetic studies by researchers, including Melissa Toops, Andrew Kitchen, Jessica Light, and David Reed, suggest that clothing lice split from head lice after humans began regularly wearing clothes. So, hair history is also clothing history. First, humans lose much of their fur. Then, they need clothes. Then, lice move into the clothes. Even parasites had to adapt to human technology. But now we come back to grooming, because once hair exists, someone has to deal with it. If you look at other primates, grooming is everywhere. Monkeys and apes spend huge amounts of time picking through each other's fur. At first glance, it looks like cleaning. And yes, it is partly cleaning. But British evolutionary psychologist and anthropologist Robin Dunbar argued that grooming in primates also works as social bonding. It helps maintain relationships, reduce tension, and build alliances. A monkey picking through another monkey's hair is not just saying, "I found a bug." It is saying, "We are okay. I am close to you." Maybe remember this later when everyone starts screaming. For early humans, grooming likely carried some of the same social weight. Hair care was not private. It was interpersonal. Before salons, before combs, before shampoo bottles with impossible promises, there was someone sitting close enough to your head to help you manage it. That is intimate. Also, itchy. And this is where hair becomes more than biology. Hair is visible. It changes with age, health, sex hormones, stress, and care. It can be cut, braided, shaved, hidden, decorated, scented, colored, or left completely chaotic. In other words, hair is body material that can be edited. Skin is harder to redesign every morning. Hair is editable identity. As human societies became more complex, hair became a signal. It could show age, status, gender, group membership, religious commitment, punishment, mourning, rebellion, or simply, "I own a comb." Facial hair is part of this too. Modern psychology studies have found that beards can affect how people judge men's age, dominance, masculinity, and aggression. So even face hair can work like a social sign, not always an accurate sign. But humans have never required signs to be accurate, only convincing. Then, civilizations took hair even further. Ancient Egypt is one of the best examples. Egyptians shaved hair, oiled hair, braided hair, wore wigs, used combs, and sometimes preserved hairstyles after death. Archaeological researchers Natalie McCreish, Alan Guys, and Data Dies Rosalie David studied ancient Egyptian mummy hair and found fatty substances applied to the hair. Their work suggested something like an ancient hair gel or fixing agent. Think about that. You are dead. Your organs have been removed. Your body is being prepared for eternity, and someone still looks at your hair and says, "Hold on, the style matters." That is when you know hair has fully become human. It is no longer just heat protection, no longer just a parasite problem, no longer just grooming. It is identity. It is memory. It is social information carried on the body. So when you look in the mirror and fix your hair, you are doing something silly. But it is an ancient kind of silly. You are using dead protein as a message, a sunscreen, a hygiene problem, a parasite archive, a bonding surface, a status signal, a tiny sculpture your body keeps producing without asking. Human hair began as biology. Then it became care. Then it became social technology. Then it became fashion. And after millions of years of evolution, sweat, sunlight, lice, grooming, wigs, gels, and status anxiety, we still use it to decide whether we can leave the house. Evolution must be very proud.